The house in Australia was always one that was full of music. We used to stand around the piano and sing duets and trios and so on. I wasn't actually trained by my mother. She said she never taught me, but she was a great singer herself. And I listened to her from, I can't remember when I didn't listen to her sing and imitate her.
There was a little bit of opera in Melbourne, almost nothing. The Conservatorium did 2 or 3 operas a year, more or less, but of course they were really for the students of the Conservatorium with a few guests.
I think the main outlet was doing recitals for the ABC at very, very small fees. I mean,
and the music clubs.
And the music clubs.
And the music clubs were where one earned most of one's money in those days. Because they were in every country town and every suburb. They were all over the state and in fact all over the country, although most of us didn't get outside our own state.
I think I admired the quality and warmth and roundness of the sound, the beauty of the sound. And I wanted to have a voice with that sort of richness and quality. I didn't want to be a pipsqueak, coloratura, or a soprano.
Well, come on, in those days that you'd never even thought of. You didn't know what the word meant.
I didn't know what the word meant, but I mean, I didn't think of being one. I had no idea of singing the coloratura repertoire at all. When I left Australia, I definitely had in my mind to sing at Covent Garden. I wasn't too sure in what capacity, and I wasn't too sure that they would accept me. But, I did audition, and I had to audition several times for Covent Garden. I believe it was 3 or 4 times. But
I sang Il Tabarro of Puccini for her
end-of-year
exercise.
Production, to which the powers that be at Covent Garden came. And I think it was one of the things that helped clinch my last audition with them, because they actually saw me on the stage and saw that although I was rather large off the stage, I could look reasonably all right on the stage, if it was a big one. I was fairly gauche and fairly stiff on the stage, and Christopher West, who was the resident producer, said, "I don't have time to help you." He sent me to Norman Ayrton, with whom I did some years of exercises for relaxing and helping me on the stage. And of course, with the experience of working so much in the theatre, one gained a lot from producers and indeed also from one's colleagues, things to do and things not to do. He worked very much to encourage me to believe that I could do things. As Richard has said, I'm really rather a pessimist and was always unsure of whether I would look foolish doing this or that. And to help me, I think we went frequently to the theatre also together, and he used to sort of either praise or criticise people on the stage to me during the intermissions and so on, or ask me what I thought of this or that attitude of somebody with the piece. But also did try and get me to move less like a lump. What can I say?
It didn't take me long to realise that when Joan sang at home, it was a different sound to when she sang in public. And to me, the sound in public was manufactured. And what she did without thinking about it was a much more natural, much more beautiful sound and a different way of singing. And I soon figured out that the way she was singing naturally was the way she had listened to her mother singing when she was a child.
Which is exactly right.
And her mother had a wonderful voice, an incredible, beautiful sound, and a very firm technique. And Joan had listened to this all her young life. And but the later teachers, when she started to study, were teaching her to do other things. In fact, they were putting a lid on the top of her voice and trying to make her sing like an old-fashioned dramatic soprano. In other words, everything getting louder and louder until you got to top C and then finish. And it was quite obvious that the voice of Joan went beyond that. And when she was singing and didn't know what notes she was singing, it would go up quite easily. But if you told her to sing a D, she would faint with fear. You know, she said, I can't, it doesn't exist. And so it was a matter of using a little psychology and sometimes tricking her by playing the exercises in the wrong keys and convincing her that she had this extension and then making her use it, we worked at scales and vocalese a great deal to make the voice very, very flexible. But I must add also that it was fairly flexible by nature. I was always a pest at Covent Garden because I complained constantly about what she was given to sing. They wanted her to understudy the Marschallin, they wanted her to understudy Sieglinde, and they wanted her to understudy Chrysothemis, and I was dead against those things and created so much that she, in actual fact, didn't. I think she worked on the Marschallin, but the other two not at all. I wanted her to sing the coloratura repertoire, the bel canto, the great 19th century repertoire. In the end, they gave her the doll to sing in Hoffmann. And I still think it was done a little maliciously. I think they thought, well, you know, we'll put this great lump of a girl on as the doll in Hoffmann, and that'll fix that, and we won't hear any more of this nonsense.
I'm not sure that that's the reason, but that's
I have
what
a malicious turn of mind. And she had an enormous triumph as the doll. The house fell apart. I mean, there was a great ovation in mid-scene for, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes. It was something quite incredible, unforgettable. And after that, nobody gave us any trouble at all. In fact, they were very cooperative. And David Webster promised her long ahead of time that she would have Lucia de Lammermoor.
Just took our breath away. And it was a little frightening in a way because I'd been having all this sinus problem and had arranged to go into the London clinic and have a huge sinus operation after the first 5 performances of Lucia. And who knew what would happen after the operation? So it was a little bit, you know, my goodness me, is it all going to be all right afterwards? But one hoped it would be, and there it was.
We were really terrified at that time because after the operation, the doctor sent us off to Cap d'Agde near Monte Carlo to have a rest in the nice weather. And Joan was supposed not to sing, not to speak even, for 3 weeks, and she didn't. She was practically silent for 3 weeks. And at the end, we came back to London, and she went to the doctor, and he said, well, now, try your voice very gently over the weekend, and then come back and see me on Monday. And we went home and started to work, and the sounds were excruciating. I mean, she was croaky and raspy.
Well, I think that one of the problems was that the resonances weren't the same. I had been so used to so much mucus and whatever they removed in those sort of sinus passages that the whole sensation of singing was completely different, and it felt dry and hard and not the same at all.
So she went back to the doctor in fact, she rang the doctor, I think, the same day and said, you know, this is really terrible. My voice is just not there. It's not the same. It's horrible. And he confessed to us afterward that he was quite frightened because he didn't know what the reason was, because her throat looked physically perfect. And he said, well, just keep singing, not gently, but keep singing all weekend and come back to me on Monday. And she did, and it gradually got better and a little better, and by the Monday even it was sort of respectable again. It wasn't easy, but it was getting better. And he looked at her, he said, there's nothing wrong with you at all.
And he was so relieved, he said, come on upstairs and have a glass of sherry.
And so we just continued working, and it came back pretty easily, actually, without a great deal of trouble, and that was the beginning of lots of things.